Hey there, welcome to the Once Upon a Time in the Huntsville podcast, hosted by me, Sampley. Thank you so much for tuning in. Boy, do I have an episode for you. Slade Monroe, Bailey Roberts, these were two of my co-stars on the film 12 Mighty Orphans, and they're just amazing young men, and so talented and so generous with their time. I was so thankful to have them on. We talk a little bit about their careers, what it was like being on set together, and some other fun stuff. I'm really excited to share this with you. Please enjoy. Oh, and if you want to catch me on Your Honor, episode 2 came out, and I have a brief scene, and it was really fun to be a part of that. So go check it out on Showtime. All right, enjoy the show. Hey guys, Sampley here, and I'm going to tell you why I use Anchor for my podcast, and it's simple, because it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer or tablet, whatever the heck you're using. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on places like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Do it, or else we're going to have a problem. And I don't want to have a problem with
you. Hey, can you hear me?
Oh, hey, yeah, I can hear him.
Hey, there we go. It was Bluetooth and these headphones. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. No worries. Okay,
no,
so the feedback.
Could you?
Bailey, how dare you?
I figured it out though. We got it.
That's good. Yeah, feedback's gone, so that's...
Dude, I felt so embarrassed. I was like, man, they must think I'm like an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, what was that, Slade?
I was just saying, I assumed it probably wasn't on your end. It was probably one of ours.
Yeah, it was probably your fault, Slade.
Honestly,
yeah, I think we all know it was my fault. It was my fault.
Oh, dude, this is so awesome. It's great to hear you guys' voices.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, seriously, I miss you guys.
I miss that Alabama accent.
Oh, really? How sweet. Slade, so you're in LA right now?
I currently am. I'm in Orange County.
Nice. Like, what's the specific address?
Oh, man. I don't know if I'm gonna give that out. Yeah, that's playing with fire. But yeah, Orange County is about an hour south of LA, 30 minutes if you're speeding like I do. But yeah, it's a nice place.
You going to school there?
Yeah, I'm currently attending Chapman University and I'm a screen actor, and yeah, I decided to come back and continue my degree. So
nice. And Bailey, I'm sorry, Slade.
Oh, just saying, it's been good.
Okay. Bailey, what about you? You're back in school?
Actually, no, man. I came back to Corpus, and I was getting prepped to move, and then COVID happened. And
wait, really, COVID? What's that?
I don't know. Just something that I think back to it about at the beginning of, well, I guess the end of last year, when it kind of started, and I remember laughing with people being like, man, I'd hate to be in China right about now. And then it just took over the world. But I was in preparation to move, actually, and just keep chasing dreams, and that got put on hold. And I needed something to do where I could make my own hours and money, because I didn't want to just sit and do nothing. And I started working on real estate, and now I am about to get my real estate license, and we'll be practicing real estate in between acting gigs and music gigs and things like that.
Dude, nice. I think you might have mentioned that to me previously. That's awesome that you're about to do that, though, bro. Congrats.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Can you get me a good deal?
I was gonna say, if you need a house, I mean, you're about to get married.
Yeah.
I can make out-of-state deals.
I have my eyes set on Slade's family home where he grew up. I want to move his whole family out of there.
Oh, well, too bad, because somebody beat you to it. We actually just recently moved out.
Oh, did you really?
Oh,
Yeah,
he said
Les
it's
was.
not your house anymore.
No, this was actually we saw it coming. We wanted to make sure we sold it to somebody else before you got your claws in on the
Yeah, there you
property.
go.
Dag nabbit.
But yeah, we moved out probably
I
a
just
month
want to
ago.
say thank you guys so much for like doing this. This means a lot to me. I've done one with Woodrow. I did one with Manny, and then I think that's it so far. Out of the 12 Mighty Orphans gang.
Yeah, we all know Woodrow's your favorite. It's fine. It's whatever.
Hey, man, he offered to come and stay, and I was like, I'm not gonna say no. I mean, so it
That
worked
video
out.
that you guys made was incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
audition.
that had me rolling.
Yeah, like so when Woody got here, just a quick story on that real quick. And for the people that don't know, that are listening, Woodrow, if you've listened to that podcast, you know who he is. He plays a character in 12 Mighty Orphans, came here, and we were deciding on whether to make a music video or somehow make fun of everybody on 12 Mighty Orphans. And we decided on the latter because we thought it would be a little bit easier. And
No,
what I
you
did
should have
was
committed. Should have committed with both.
we didn't have the time.
You should have done a music video to one of Jake's songs and sent it to him and said, "Hey, man, now we're saving you time. You don't have to do a music video."
No, you know what we would have done? Actually, we were like I even wrote out kind of like a sample script of it. Is we were going to make a music video for Haas and Luke making out, which for those who are listening don't know what that is. It's a parody song that Woodrow and I sang like out of the blue about two of our co-stars making out. I'll just leave it at that.
People listening are going, "Who are these people?"
Who are these absolute degenerates?
But anyways, thanks guys for coming on. I just want to talk about. I mean, if you listen to some of the podcasts before, I like to talk to people about like where their careers, where do they find their inspiration and stuff like that. So, like, I'm gonna ask you a lot of cliche answers, or cliche questions. But out of those cliche questions, we can kind of go anywhere with it. I don't really mind. Like, you don't even have to answer if you don't want to. So I'll start with you, Bailey. How did you get started in this industry? Because I really don't know. Like, this isn't me just asking for the sake of asking. I'm really interested. So how did you get like, or how did you become an actor, I guess?
Well, like most people that know me know this, and Slade knows this because we kind of, I think, have the same kind of start. But I definitely started in theater. When I was about 11 or 12 years old, my local theater here in Corpus was doing The Sound of Music. And I had grown up doing choir and singing in church and things like that. And I said, what the heck, why not? And I went, and it pretty, everything opens another door, man. And I think anybody that's been doing this long enough knows that. And I was in that show and then fell in love with live theater and musical theater and singing and acting and dancing. And so, of course, I had never done any of it before. But then I was like, Mom, I want to take dance classes. I want to get in voice lessons. I want to act more. I just fell in love with it. So I started doing that. And then probably 2 or 3 years after I started at the theater, we had a talent agent that came into town and was holding open auditions to sign people to her agency. And I went and I did a monologue about my fly being down in front of the classroom, and she loved it. And I signed with her and have been in the agency now for probably, I think 6 or 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. I was one of her first ones, and not to ramble, but as far as like, I still stuck with the theater, but then she got me into on-camera acting and would do gigs there and then open doors on the theater end. And I've got to go to New York for 2 summers and perform on Off-Broadway, which has been a blast. And, but I would say that the ultimate goal, as far as what I would love to do if I had a choice, I'd probably stick with on stage. but obviously, I had a blast filming 12 Mighty Orphans, and I love on camera acting. I'd do both, man. So yeah.
And I just stop you right there because I want to, after I asked Slade the same question, I want to ask both of you. I kind of want to get ask what your experience was like auditioning for 12 Mighty Orphans and like your whole like story doing that. So Slade, well, how did you get into acting?
Yeah, well, for me, I kind of started acting kind of almost as like a hobby to just kind of like figure out, how to just just something that I enjoyed doing. Like I always knew I wanted to be a performer, but like I didn't really know if I had like the guts to do it. And so when I was like 13 or so, I kind of dipped my toes in the water. I took some lessons and stuff, and I started in theater, and after a while of doing that, like I kind of lost the I kind of had like a bad influence in my life who kind of like made me feel like I probably shouldn't be going down this road.
Oh, wow.
And so and so
was that Bailey?
Yeah.
He was like, the limelight's mine.
I was trying not to out him, but no. So I was actually going to make the decision to not pursue acting when I was like probably 18 or so. And I went to like another acting class just like because I had already paid for it. And my acting coach, her name's Catherine Sullivan. She has a business in Lewisville, Texas. I was just doing like the beginner classes and whatnot, and she when I finished doing a scene, she turned around and asked me if like why was I not in her master classes, and that kind of like rejuvenated things for me. So I went home and I told my parents that like I wanted to be an actor, and I couldn't put it down.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so so a year and a half later after that was when I got casted. So it was just kind of like a weird stumble of events, but but I eventually got there, and I'm glad I did.
That's awesome, man. Did anyone else hear that? Or was that just me? It was like kind of like a shuffling. Is that?
No, I can't.
Okay, if you can't hear it, then it's probably fine. It's probably just my my vertigo acting up.
Okay.
No, I'm just joking. Which has nothing to do with the ears at all. It's all eyes. But anyways, so that's interesting that both of you started with theater. So you started with The Sound of Music. What was your first production, Slade?
My first production. I was in a play. I think, I was in a play called Paragon Springs. That was my first like acting experience. It was when I was 15. It was just a high school play. Nice. I didn't ever do anything outside of really like high school plays and doing like acting classes outside of high school. Those are like the two things that I did mainly. Yeah. It wasn't the first professional work that I did was 12 Mighty Orphans.
That's all. So that's so cool that like, because Bailey, that was 12 Mighty Orphans was also like the first on camera thing you ever did too, right?
I had done a few local commercials, but I mean, as far as major thing, as far as movie goes, it was my first feature film, first major motion picture, and really the biggest thing I had done yet. And so yeah. That was my first.
That's so awesome because I think you'll also find that with Woodrow, Manny, Austin, maybe Preston. Michael. Yeah, Preston. Yeah, he had never acted before at all, and same with Woody. So that's so like cool and funny that the majority of the cast was like completely new to it. But I think that really helped because all those names that I mentioned, like you're all great. Like you're all awesome to watch. Like it's
man. I remember. I remember Ty, our director Ty Roberts. he was blown away. I was having a conversation with him, and he was like, "Man, so what other work have you done?" And I was like, "Nothing. Like, this is my first thing." He goes, "You're lying to me," and I was like, "No." And he was like, "Are you kidding me, man?" And he was like, "Dude, you're so natural at this." I was like, "You want to know what's even crazier? Preston ain't never taken an acting lesson. Woodrow never taken," and he was just I think he knew, but I don't think he knew the extent of how green everyone was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
And I remember him telling me he wanted real Texas boys. He didn't want these, LA boys that didn't know what it was like to be in that hot Texas sun all day and what.
Yeah. And the real Alabama boys too.
Absolutely. I can't leave Alabama away.
Because because I was I mean I had been on sets before, but no more than like a week. So I was really like new to being on a film for like 2 months straight, like working almost every single day. And like, so I think that's really cool that he just brought in like all these like really fresh people. And I feel like it worked really well.
Oh yeah.
And before I get into like the chemistry callback, Bailey, what was like your first audition? Did you have to tape or did you go on live for your audition for 12 Mighty Orphans?
Dude, my audition process, I feel like everybody in this movie had a different audition process. And it's talking to like Levi and Jake, they were like, "Oh, they just called me." And I was like, so for me, I had this is actually pretty funny. I had a in-person audition in Austin, Texas with Sarah Dowling. And I read in front of her and she was like, "That was so great." That was so great. We'll be in touch. Like, we great,
Yeah.
And I walked out and she had me read for a couple of people, but then I walked out and what my agent was always saying, like, so what, next one? You don't want to dwell on it. You just kind of want to. And I did not get a call for a callback for another like 4 or 5 months. I was in Vegas on a family vacation playing shuffleboard with my dad. And I got a text and my agent was like, "Hey, do you remember that thing you auditioned for?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Well, they want you in Fort Worth." And I think I had that call, and I had 2 callbacks in Fort Worth. One of which was the chemistry test, and then we had that physical test, quote unquote physical audition out on the football field that day. And that's where I met you for the first time, Sampley, I think.
Yes.
No, the chemistry would have been after the football because I walked in and everybody was like, "Oh, look." So
yes, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because for those who had like done really well at the physical test, they were calling us tryhards.
Yeah, me and you were going all out.
It was like, well, that's the point, is to do your best.
And yeah, man, and it was funny, and it was cool because you kind of out on that field, and I'm sure Slade, I'm sure you felt this too. You could pretty much feel who was going to be there.
Yeah.
The natural,
Well, actually, I never went.
You weren't there, were you, Slade?
No, I wasn't there.
Right.
I'm not really. I never even got like an email or anything about it. My agent didn't call me. The first time I heard of it was actually at the chemistry.
Oh, wow.
And everybody there had already done it. And I was like, what? Why did I miss that? How did I miss it?
That seems like something. That seems like something the guy who's going to end up playing the quarterback should go to.
No, yeah, totally. I think I'll get more into it like when it's my turn, but I think it's just because like they already knew that I had prior experience with football. I don't know though.
Okay. I'll say this real quick before we get this you, Slade. So when my agent emailed me about the physical test or the practice that we're going to have, she said that they specifically wanted to see me throw the football. And I was like, "Oh, sweet. Like, I'm going to they're testing me for the quarterback, like
Mr. Dallas Cowboys over here."
And heck yeah. And then I get there and and Bailey, you'll know this. They didn't have us throw the ball at all. They just had us catch and just make sure we could run straight. And
no offense to anybody, but me and Sampley were literally the only guys that could catch out there. It was.
I'm like, not to brag, but yes, you are correct on that one. Like, I actually, after the practice, I felt pretty good about getting the call back.
Sampley's like, I've played hours of Madden. I've got this in the bag.
Got that right, man. Some say I played too much. But Slade. So, what was your process like, man?
Okay, so it kind of started out a little wild because I had a really bad concussion when I got the audition. I'd injured myself like diving into the pool, and I had rung my bell. Yeah, right. I had rung my bell so hard that like everything in front of me was cloudy.
Now, was this a frat party, Slade, or was this?
No, this was me. This was actually me trying to get an A on a project. So
wait, explain.
My senior year. So I had to make a music video for a high school project, and I was like, we can't just end on nothing. We got to have a bang. So I belly flopped into my pool, and I was I belly flopped into my pool, and I was wearing like a metal studded hat, and then so it definitely was not a good time. But
Slade, I would say that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So I the next day when I woke up, I was feeling awful, of course. And by the end of the day, I got a text, or I got an email from my agent saying that I have an audition for 12 Mighty Orphans. And so in it said that I could choose between Weedy or Fairbanks. And so I decided to memorize both. Now, trying to memorize lines on a concussion was really difficult and super frustrating. It took me about 6 hours to actually feel comfortable with the material, when it would usually take me probably an hour. And so anyway, the next day after that was my audition, and my mother was driving me there because I was definitely not fit to drive. So we were on the way over, and I was like, oh geez, how am I even going to do this? It was originally going to be a video audition, I think, but my agent had Sarah come in, and I actually did it at my agency. And so when I showed up, I actually only auditioned for Fairbanks because I just physically didn't feel able to do the Weedy lines. And so I did what I could with it, and I walked out, a little bummed out, because when I read the sides and I looked up the story, I told my parents that if I get this, I'm not going to college. Like
wow,
this is an awesome script. And so, I left, and I told my mom, I said, I don't know. I did as good as I could given the circumstances, but we're probably not hearing anything back. So, skip ahead like 5 months later, I'm gearing up to go to Chapman University, and I get the email that I have a callback, not for Fairbanks, but for Weedy. And this was 2 weeks before I left. So that was nerve-wracking.
That's incredible. I mean, I kind of love about this industry is that, like, the ones that, like, you feel like you just bomb audition-wise, you end up hearing back from, and they'll just be like, we loved you. And then the ones that you, like, felt like you just crushed, like you're totally going to get it, like, in fact, you probably didn't. You blew it. But I just think that's funny about this industry. Do you guys ever feel that way about certain projects?
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. This was one.
So when you were at the chemistry callback, for sure.
Yeah. yeah. So yeah, I skipped over that the what is it
Physical, yeah.
practice, which didn't even hear about. So I showed up at the chemistry read, and I went in and did my scene for Weedy, and I honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. I walked out feeling like I couldn't have done better. I was like, I mean, I was very
That's
proud of it,
awesome.
and so like, I don't want to toot my own horn or
No,
anything,
I'll
but
toot it.
at that point, I was just feeling like, if they don't take me, then like kudos to the other guy, good job on him. But like I was just satisfied with my performance.
Yeah, what's funny about
So
that is after you left, everyone talked about how they were so unsatisfied with your performance, including myself. That's funny that you think that. No.
yeah, well, it was actually the first time I've ever thought that. Of all the auditions I've ever done, I've never like quite walked out feeling like I did enough. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good feeling then.
Yeah, you were completely right, man. That's awesome that you felt that way and you ended up being so right about it. Because I feel like kind of like to say what Bailey said earlier is that like we all kind of knew who was going to be like the ones that would get cast just because in the chemistry callback, like I feel like all the 12 that ended up being cast were like we're all talking to each other.
Yeah.
We were just like we were
Yeah.
like being competitive about it at all. We were just like chilling and having a good time. And then you had some other actors there that were kind of sitting in the corner.
Dude, they were given like the evil eye in the room.
Yeah.
In the like
Yeah,
waiting
right.
room. They were like, yeah, they flew me in. This is basically a shoo-in. And I was like,
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, honestly, sitting amongst you guys, I had a pretty solid idea of who was going to get Woody. Woody, like
100%.
Oh,
he
yes.
walked in the door. He walked in the door, and I was like, "Yep, there you go."
Because you got, I mean, traditionally, unless they ask you to wear something different, you dress nicer to an audition, right?
Yeah.
This man walks in with blue jeans stained with who knows what. These boots.
That is.
And just had this big old trucker hat on. He's like, is this for the 12 thing or am I in the right place?
That man is as West Texas as it gets.
So I don't know if you guys listened to the one that me and Woody did, but in that one I told him that which is funny. So he sat right next to me on that couch and he looks over at me and he's like, "Who are you auditioning for?" And I go, "Well, they've had me read for this character named Chicken a couple times, but today they also asked me to read for this role called Leon." And then he goes, "Oh, that's the role I'm reading for." And so he later told me that on the podcast that whenever I said I was reading for Leon, he got really scared. And then I told him when he told me he was reading for Leon, I thought, "Oh, he booked that, so Chicken's my only hope," just because of his look.
Yeah.
It's like, how could he not be Leon? Because I had already read the Leon scene, and I was like, "Oh, that's him for sure, without a doubt."
Yeah.
And then I also felt pretty good that Preston was going to get DeWitt because I went in with him at one point to do one of the scenes because they also had me, read for Snogs while I was there. Not like audition for Snogs, but just read in his place because Jacob wasn't there. He was probably at Applebee's with Levi and Jake at that point. They're just saying how they got phone calls.
Their favorite restaurant.
Yeah, they just had to completely avoid the audition process. That must be nice. But and I was with Preston in the room, and I was like, "Man, he's got this in the bag." Like, and I was really happy when he got cast. I'm trying to remember who else I was in the room with. I think I was also in the room with Michael when he did Crazy. And then
we were in the room together.
Yes, yeah, we were. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When we did the final, because they had me, obviously, because for Miller they had me do the scene with my brother. But I think for the chemistry side of things, they had us do that final scene, the Snog special thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's
and
right.
But Slade was never the weedy in my room. It was
Shane, right?
Yeah, I actually left before you went in. I remember like I was sitting talking to you, and I think they had you come in the group after mine.
You talking to me? Slade?
Yeah, Bailey.
Yeah.
So yeah, never mind.
I was just
I was gonna ask a question, but I completely.
I was gonna let that play out, but then and then there's just silence, and I was like, okay, well.
I just completely short-circuited.
Did you?
He still has the concussion.
Yeah, I was about to say, did you go belly flap in your pool?
No, there's still some symptoms that I feel every now and
I
then.
could tell while I was on set. You know, I shared a trailer with you, Slade, and sometimes I worried.
Oh, that's okay. Sometimes I worry too.
Yeah, sometimes you would just be sitting there and drool would start coming out and you weren't asleep. Or sometimes when I looked at your script, there was just like all these like markings on there, like you didn't understand what the words were. Like it looked like you were creating your own alphabet.
Okay, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know how to read.
That makes so much sense.
He said, I can't read.
Oh, yeah, isn't that what I said for the Levi thing in that audition?
Yeah. He's like, I can't read.
I can't read. But okay. So when you guys find out, I'll go to Bailey first. Bailey, when you found out like you booked the role, what did you do right after that?
This is funny. So I had that audition, or the last thing we did was that chemistry read. And I knew I wasn't going to have to wait another 4 or 5 months. I knew the ball was rolling on this at this point. And my agent pretty much said, look, if you are going to hear anything, it's going to be this weekend. And I was like, okay. And of course, I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
So Monday morning, I get up. And at this point, I was enrolled in TAMUCC, the college down here in Corpus.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, well, just going to school. You know, you can't just sit around. You got to get going. And I was in class, and class ended, and I was the loser that rode my longboard on campus. And I was riding my longboard, and I feel my phone buzz, and I look at it, and it's my agent. I pull out my phone, and she goes, okay, I have good news and bad news. So immediately my thought is, okay, the good news is I'm in it, but the bad news is I didn't get the part, but they at least want me as a football extra. Kind of like what Sampley was saying, I felt pretty confident in my athletic performance.
Uh-huh.
I was like, surely they can use me somewhere in this film because I can at least catch a ball. You know what I mean? And so that's what I initially thought she meant when she said I have good news and bad news. And she was like, what do you want first? I was like, just give me the bad news first. And she was like, okay, the bad news is you're going to have to drop out of all your classes because you're going to Fort Worth. You books with Martin Miller. And they were screaming. And it was big for me because I know, like, I should have played it very professionally and been like, great, I can't wait. This is going to be fun. But it was like Kid on Christmas, man. This is my first big gig I'd ever booked. So I was on cloud 9. Jumping up and down, and I immediately went to the office and withdrew my enrollment, and my brother and I went and jumped up and down like a bunch of girls.
That's awesome, dude. I love that so much. Slade, what about you, man?
Oh, geez. That was such a good day. I had been looking at the IMDb literally every day for at least 13 times a day to see if anybody got the role. I was like neurotic over it. But when I got the part, I was on campus and I was about to go to class. It was a lecture class and I was dreading it. So I was in like the student forum, or basically just where all the students hang out in between classes. And I was kind of just sitting there talking to one of my friends, and she gets up and she leaves. And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, oh man, how am I going to keep this up? These classes are killing me. And so I get a call, and I see that it's from my agency, Kim Dawson Agency. And when I answer it, my agent, who's just like, she has like the kindest voice on the planet. She goes, well, I got some good news for you, Slade. Like, please fill me in. well, you got the part. Do you want it? And I was like, do I want it? Absolutely. So there was like a bunch of people around me. So I was just trying to contain it a little bit, but I went around the corner and just started like doing a dance of victory.
I love that.
I was literally jumping off the walls and stuff. And a teacher walked by and saw me, which was a little bit embarrassing, but yeah, no, I was ecstatic. I literally didn't know what to do with the rest of my day. So I just went to the rest of my classes.
I love that.
There. Yeah, so I was like, I don't know what to do now.
See, and I was sitting there. I was like, okay, I've got a full day, because this was at like 11 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I have a full day of classes, but I was like, what's the point? I'm not gonna be here. So I just left.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do in that situation at all. So I went to one of my classes and I still took the notes and gave it to one of my friends. So who wasn't there that day. So I was still participating in classes. But
I love that.
It was funny.
In classes I wasn't going to be taking in 48 hours.
I love that, Slade. So I also I remember I was in this acting studio and I was actually helping someone else tape an audition. And I saw my agent.
That's right. Don't you work at an acting studio, Sampley?
Yes, I do. And so I was helping someone, coaching them through their audition. And I saw my agent was calling me, Misty. And I was like, oh, okay, this is it. This is it. This is either like good or bad news. And so I go in the back, I close the door, and Misty's like, congratulations, you're going to be chicken. And I was just like, so whenever like I book something or like I get an audition, like I think it's just from playing sports all my life. Like instead of like screaming or like dancing, I'm just like, that's what I'm talking about. Like I'm just like as if like I just like scored a game-winning drive, like touchdown. I'm just like, that's what it's all about. That's what I'm talking about. And like she was like, yeah, and and then she hung up or whatever. And then like I just like
she hangs up on you.
Well, after saying goodbye, but and then I was just like silently like just like freaking out. I was like, yes. Like I was so pumped up. That's awesome though. That I love that. Like Bailey, you just left class and Slade. You're like, I'm just gonna take notes for my friend.
I think
yeah. Earlier that day, my friend had asked me to do it because they weren't feeling well. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. So I couldn't leave them.
Dude, it's like what a friend.
What a reliable guy, man.
I'm glad I have you in my corner. So
I was gonna say, like, I think it's important if I can like go off on a little thing here.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool. You mentioned something, Sampley. You were like, that's what it's all about, right? And I know you probably weren't thinking this when you said it, but I think all of us, as well as any actor you can talk to, will tell you, like, you hear so many no's that you want to give up just about on every turnaround. I'm not exaggerating when I say 12 Mighty Orphans was my first yes, and before that I had received over 200 no's. I mean, wow. I had been in this agency for 6 years and had been auditioning steadily nearly almost every weekend, sending in tapes for 6 years. And, you don't hear a thing. And there's definitely those moments where you're like, maybe this just like isn't for me. Like maybe I just don't have the talent. Mm-hmm. And then when you hear that yes, you're like, that's what it's all about. And my agent gave me some advice. She was like, I want you to, whether it's take a video of yourself or journal or write something down, record what you're feeling right now. And when you get down about quitting or get down about wanting to give up on it, go back and read that or go back and watch that and remind yourself of how fulfilling it is when hard work pays off.
Yes, that's awesome. I actually started taking pictures. Like I'll take a selfie right when I find out of me just like screaming or just like chanting myself up just to like go back and be like, that was an awesome feeling whenever I'm feeling not so good about like something I didn't hear back from. And then I also want to ask both of you this, like, so we get on set and like, for me, it felt really, it felt like real. Like once I started trying on my costumes and then maybe after we did that photo shoot with Luke. And like, that's when it felt real. Cool. Did any of you guys before that kind of have maybe like imposter syndrome? Because sometimes like when I start on projects, I feel this way to where I'm just like, man, like they didn't get the guy that they needed, and like they don't find me.
That's actually funny that you say that, because the word that was coming in my head when when Bailey was giving his like when Bailey was talking about how this had been like after a lot of yeses or a lot of no's, this was his first yes or whatever. I was like, like I get that feeling, because when I was actually in the student forum, I was having like this bout of imposter syndrome. Like, am I in over my head? What am I doing? And is this actually what I'm meant to do and whatnot? And so that call, it came at like the perfect time. But when it like really hit me when we started getting into the costumes, like you said. And like at that moment on, I was like, okay, this is real. I'm not dreaming.
Basically, for me, it was like, I've actually gone through an imposter moment, and where they got the wrong guy, and I was the wrong guy. Back when I was, probably 14, I had an audition for an Academy commercial. And at this point, I had never booked a commercial. I had never booked anything. So this would have been like my very, very first yes.
And when you say Academy, you mean like the big sports franchise, right?
Yes, okay, Academy, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they put a first right of refusal on me, basically saying like, don't go anywhere. And then they called me and said, you got the part. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, and of course, this was my very, very, very first thing. So I was really, really over the moon. 5 minutes later, I get a call back. I am so sorry.
Oh no!
I thought you were someone else.
Wow!
No! You actually did not get the part. Yes. So I like, and
that's heartbreaking.
Little 14-year-old me, I was like, that was God telling me to give up right there. And so, right, but I'm like I said, when I went and dropped out of my classes, I was on the phone with my agent. I was like, you need to be straight up with me right now. Like, is this signed? Like, is this contract signed, sealed, and delivered? Because I am about to throw away a lot of money right now.
Yeah.
And she was like, no. Like, the deal is done. It is signed. You're like, this is your part. And I remember, I think the moment when it felt pretty real for me is, Sampley, if you remember, the first night we got to Fort Worth, you, me, Manny, and Tyler went and ate at Chili's.
Yes.
And this is when all the guys were still getting into town on their separate days. And we got out of my truck and started to walk back up to the hotel. And Jake, Jacob, and Levi were sitting there all smoking a cigarette in the outside. And Jake stood up. Jake's a very friendly guy. He was like, yo, are you guys the guys? Mm-hmm. Like, what role? And struck up a conversation, and Levi just kind of looked at me and didn't really say anything, but that's okay. So you know how he gives that sly stare?
Yes.
But
yeah.
No, he's great. But that's when it kind of felt real. I was like, man, we're all here. We're about to do something great. And then, we all had that moment, I guess, throughout filming, where we would get a really awesome moment on screen, and you just keep thinking to yourself, man, this is real. Like, this is really happening to me and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then I think, just share this. I think after I did after I shot the one-on-one scene I did with Luke, and that's happens in the movie, I thought after I finished shooting it, I was like, they can't fire me now. I was like, I don't know. And then I didn't get like tilted. I don't know if you guys noticed that at all. I hope not. I'd like to think I hide it pretty well.
What? Hiding what?
Just like, I don't know. Like I get nervous a lot more than I think people think I do, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I think that's just part of being an actor, and how like as an actor, you have to, like, you're literally standing up in front of people and you're facing embarrassment like all the time. And because if you fail, everyone can stand there and like laugh at you and mock you. So it's definitely like a tightrope that we kind of walk.
But I think it's a little bit easier when you're in front of other fellow actors, because they know exactly what you're going through. And if you stumble on a line or something and they say, all right, let's do it again. And then like, they'll be like, hey man, you got this. Just breathe. Here we go. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Because
honestly,
those fellow people know like what you're going through when your heart's beating real fast. And so,
I absolutely agree. I wish Slade had been a lot more like that, because whenever I flubbed the line, Slade would go, I'm totally tweeting this right now, you idiot.
Oh, it wasn't just tweets.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I made an entire YouTube channel dedicated
I
to
need to go check that out.
Check it out. It's called Sampley Screw Ups on
Montage.
Part 3.
And you're like spending money to do this YouTube channel. Like, there's nothing in it for you except my pain. But
that's honestly what I loved about this movie, is that touching on a little bit what Bailey said, it being amongst so many actors who are like roughly the same age, it was just such a nice atmosphere, because it really did feel like we were all in it together.
Yes, absolutely. And I think
and so there's a little bit of comfort in that.
Yes, and I think it also helped the fact that like we were all like we're all new names too. Like, and even though Jacob and Levi and Jake had done some things, like they acted as if they were new too, and I think that's like what made it really easy to be around just everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Jacob always saying like, Jacob's done quite a bit. I think, and I could be totally wrong, I think Jacob has done the most out of all of us. I think Jacob had done, I think, the biggest list. I mean, of course, Jake with Stargirl coming out, that's huge.
Yeah.
But,
very big.
But I think Jacob started the youngest with, I guess, quote unquote fame, or just the biggest roles, if you will, especially working with all those huge names in the Maze Runner films and McConaughey. And then I remember the final scene that we were filming, and I'm not going to give anything away of the film, so nobody freak out. I'm not a Tom Holland.
We all die.
But I remember we were all kind of in that huddle, and he was crying, and I was crying too. And I looked up at him, and they said cut or whatever, and he was like, I remember Manny asking him, dude, how do you cry so easy? And he goes, yo, I'm feeding off of you guys. You guys are brilliant. I mean, you guys are great. And it meant a lot coming from somebody who's also been around huge, great actors, that he thought we were great too, and so definitely gave a confidence booster.
Again, I wish Slade was a lot more like that, because the entire movie, he doesn't emote not once. No, I'm just joking.
No, especially at Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
We can't give spoilers.
It's like
sorry.
Slade's always crying off camera, but when it comes to on camera, man, I swear he looks into the lens the entire film.
Yeah.
Yeah, they call me Brick
Wall.
Slade Brick Wall Monroe.
Absolutely.
All right, so to kind of like move away from 12 Mighty Orphans, because we've talked about that a lot. What have you guys been up to, like quarantine wise? Any hobbies you guys have picked up, or anything that you guys have discovered or watched that you want to talk about?
I'll kind of say something, but I just want to pause for a brief moment. My phone's on 10%, and if I plug it in, is that going to mess it up? Because I know when I had my headphones plugged in.
Mine's currently.
Yeah, mine's plugged in. So you should be good.
Okay, cool. Well, I feel like I'm talking a bunch. So Slade, go ahead, man.
Okay. So quarantine experience. Yeah. So I was in California as of last semester, starting my technically my first semester of college. When I got casted for 12 Mighty Orphans, I was only 4 weeks into being on campus, and so I was in and out basically as quickly as I started. So I was finally gearing up to get that that college experience that everybody keeps talking about, and then 5 weeks into it, I get called back to Texas again because quarantine. So I just finished out my year online last semester, and it was all right. as a screen actor, being a performing arts major during quarantine is a little difficult, but we made the most of it, and it was good. But since then, I picked up some hobbies that I'm not really good at yet, but I started whittling, and playing the
Oh,
piano,
nice.
and I'm very, very novice at both of those things, but um, just something to take my mind off of the death plague. So,
A little. Can you
uh,
whittle a piano?
can I whittle a piano? I'm not quite there yet. I could probably make one of the keys.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, maybe the white one
uh,
if I really
did,
focus.
did you
Of
just
course.
go out and like buy a piano or like a keyboard?
No, actually, we had a piano in our house for what, 15 years, and went completely untouched. So yeah, I decided to actually unretire it and give it a go, which was a lot of fun. So I learned a couple songs, like the intro to like Moonlight Sonata,
Oh, nice.
and uh, a little bit of Fur Elise. Um, but I'm not phenomenal
Have you?
yet.
Yet, keyword yet.
I love that.
Yeah,
Hey, Slade, do you remember that rap you wrote uh,
I do.
at the end of when we rapped? You
Absolutely.
gotta you
Yeah.
gotta record that on the piano, man. You gotta.
I think you're right. I think I got to get my vocals in tune as
That,
well, along with my piano
you can do
skills.
it, man. I believe in you. What about
Thank you. Thank
what
you.
about you, Bailey? What do
The
you
the
got to?
the Grammys aren't ready for the 12 by
Oh
30
no,
track.
yeah, they're not ready. They're not ready. What about you, Bailey? What have you been? Have you picked up any hobbies during quarantine or watching anything good?
Yeah, man. So when quarantine first started, I just had so much downtime. I hate to admit this, but I binge watched The Vampire Diaries on Netflix.
Nice.
Nice.
Absolutely
Yeah.
fell in love with it. I recommend that show to anybody watching. It was amazing. Um, but I think the biggest thing that has happened to me in quarantine, aside from deciding to kind of get my real estate license, I've been very musically inclined my whole life.
Uh-huh.
Singing was my number one thing. That's where I started, and I have 5 guitars in my room, and I
Wow.
really could only ever just strum a few chords on them, right? I could learn a song that if it was just chords, but I mean, soloing, finger picking, that was no way, no way. And I said, you know what? I've got all this free time. Why don't I just learn how to, really dive in? And so I kind of taught myself music theory as far as guitar goes, as far as really understanding the neck of a guitar and where the notes lie. And I fell back in love with the guitar, and I play a few hours every day, man. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but dude, I have surpassed what I ever thought I could have ever been able to play within these 8 to 9 months. Because that's all I ever did. I just, it was like a religion.
That's awesome,
You know,
dude.
got so many inspirations. John Mayer is my biggest
I
inspiration,
knew.
and
I think I knew that you really liked him.
yeah, man. And it was, being able to play those songs now and stuff, and kind of inspired me. And of course, our wonderful Jake Austin Walker, he inspired me because he's really, he makes his music. Of course, he goes to a studio, but like he makes things happen for himself.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was very green,
Yeah.
of course, but I started to try to write my own stuff, and that was probably about 5 months ago. And the first few drafts of songs that I wrote, absolutely terrible, absolutely terrible. But the more I did it, the more I really studied songwriters and listened to wordplay and chord progressions and understood the theory behind it all. I'm pretty confident. And so I have now been working on an EP that will be released coming out probably next year that I'm really, really excited about, man. And which, for those listening that don't know what an EP is, it's a small album with a few songs to just kind of show the kind of artist you are, the kind of music you play.
Yeah.
And I'm very acoustic guitar based, but and what I keep trying to explain to people is, like, whether 5 people listen to it or 500 people listen to it, it didn't really matter to me. I just truly fell in love with the creative writing process of writing music and creating, and you know, I'm doing it for me, man, and I took joy out of it. Hopefully people enjoy it, and that would mean a lot to me if people enjoy my music. But if not, man, I'm just having a blast creating it in the studio, and I've got a great support team, and I know, like, we all repost when Jake posts his stuff, and so I'm pretty confident that the boys would help me, even if it's trash. Be like, hey, yo, go listen to my music. Cough, cough. Please do that when it comes out. But
Wait, do you have a date?
I don't have a date yet. We're still recording and everything. But yeah, I'm really excited to release that and just show that kind of side of my career, I guess, you know.
Dude, that's awesome, man. And I know 12 Mighty Orphans already has like a score, but maybe write a maybe write a theme.
Slade, what do you say I was like, Miss Slade, what do you say we do a duo here on this rap? And
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, man. And I'm just
Can I
having a good
dance?
time with it.
I'll take the chorus, you got the verses.
We already got the lyrics down. Slade's already got the lyrics down.
Oh, okay. I said.
Oh yeah.
I said.
Yeah.
No, it cut out.
Oh, you got.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was just like a silence.
I said.
Or not, but.
I said, if I can be a part of it, can I dance in the music video? And then there was just silence, and I was like, dang, you yeah, jerks. I love how, like, both of you are like trying to like learn instruments and like doing productive things. And the one thing I got really back into during the quarantine was playing video games.
Well, I mean, you're doing a podcast too.
Dude, this is like not work. This is fun.
And I got engaged. Like, come on, Sampley.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Let's talk about the wedding. You excited?
Yeah, man, dude, I'm so pumped. She hasn't caught on yet that she could do so much better. She hasn't. So don't give her any hints or anything. Okay, but dude, I'm so pumped for that. Like, I think I already mentioned to you guys that you guys were invited. Like, and I said, we haven't sent out invites yet. I don't know when that happens. This is the first time I'm getting married. Hopefully the last. So I don't know how this really works. She's more of the expert on that sort of thing, because she's been married 5 times before, so she knows how to get this stuff done.
Right, absolutely. And you know what? That's definitely Sampley's being modest here. Out of all of his wives, she's the favorite. Come on now.
Yes, I mean, like, I would prefer Woody would come stay here a little bit longer, but yeah, she's pretty cool. But I'll say this. Wait, I know Slade plays video games because I know we talked about that. Bailey, are you a big gamer?
I'm a gamer.
Man, I'd love to be, but I really am not. If I get in, I still the most updated console I have is a PS3.
Hey, that's all right, man.
It's a brilliant console.
It's done me well, man. And but you know, I've got the console and I'll play it if I have nothing else in the world to do. But I'm not a big gamer, man.
That's because you're a productive guy.
Definitely found.
My brother has a Twitch stream. By the way, you guys go check him out. Kane Hendricks. But he plays online gaming. He plays like those fear games, like the scary games and stuff.
Yeah.
And he plays World of Warcraft. He's big on that, and so my brother's the big gamer. Nice.
Oh,
I've definitely like lessened on my gaming since starting college again. Like, I have not had a whole lot of time, especially this week. This week's final.
Oh,
so
yikes.
Yeah. So I found myself away from
What are you doing
the keyboard
right now,
as of
man?
late.
Go study.
Oh no, procrastination nation.
Oh, okay. Before we leave, Slade, dude, what's going on with our Cowboys, man?
I don't know, man. I don't know. How many injuries
Dude,
is it now?
Can I just say
three? Is it 3 or 4?
Injuries aside, I don't think, and I might have already shared this with you before, I don't think we'll ever win, not even a Super Bowl, but an NFC championship game until Jerry Jones either retires, sells the team, or unfortunately dies. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I don't want the man to die. But I'm just saying that his arrogance and his ignorance has kind of destroyed the Cowboys.
Breaking news: Head coach of the
there definitely needs to
Cowboys
be a
suddenly
passing
found
of the
dead
torch.
at the hands of Sampley.
I'm not going to kill him.
God, wow. Yeah, I don't know. It's been kind of sad. I've tuned out of the last 2 games because, man, I want my boys to do well, but you know, feel bad.
Dude, me too. And I have a love-hate relationship
Yeah, I feel bad for
with
all
the
those
team,
guys.
as I'm sure every other Cowboy fan has, because like I'm just like they're doing so bad. It's just like if I watch them, I'm wasting my time because I know they're just gonna let me down. But then I sit down and watch the 4-hour game anyways. Like, what's the matter with me?
I mean, they typically do very well in the fourth quarter, but it's brutal.
It
leading
really
up to that.
is.
It's like they finally get into second gear and like their longevity is pretty decent, but man, if they can only just like put it into gear in the first half as well, I'd be a much happier Cowboys
I
fan.
remember when I went and saw them live last year play against the Minnesota Vikings, where they ended up losing, I think 28-21 or 35-28. It was by a touchdown. And when the game ended, there was nothing else like just the Cowboys fans just wanting everyone to be fired. Like, and then like you'd see this like one Vikings fan like cheering, and then like I was kind of afraid for those like Viking fans because like I don't know, Cowboy fans don't seem to be like the nicest teams, and I felt worried for his safety, like going home.
They definitely have like a reputation. But hey, at the very least, they beat the Falcons in a 2020.
Yeah, that's true. We had that. Yeah, we had that going for us. But if we continue to talk about the Cowboys, my heart is gonna start to bleed.
It's gonna.
At least in Madden, I can win. You know.
Dude, I'm telling you, every time you send me a new high score, I'm just like, how is this? He's literally scoring he's literally scoring like twice a minute. Like, how is this?
Dude, yeah. Like whenever me and Manny like played together and like Woody, and then I think I played you once, Bailey, where like
we don't need to talk about
it's not because like I'm good at Madden, it's because on paper the Cowboys are like insanely great. It's just like they can't execute anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's my theory. Oh,
I remember playing Sampley in Madden, and within the first 30 seconds, I scored a touchdown, and I was like, "Oh man, here we go, baby!" And then I lost by like 50 points.
Yeah, I mean that was like the first time I ever played, like actually sat down to play Madden, and oh wow, I was bad at it.
Sampley's doing all this like.
One thing that I'll never understand
twist left.
is
no, dude,
is how ever so often the buttons wouldn't work.
No, the guy.
I know y'all don't believe me,
I think Preston is a way better Madden player than me because like me and him played like on the hardest difficulty, and like he was like reading like schemes and stuff. Like he was into it, but
he's like TikTok famous now, bro.
Is he really?
Yeah. Is he?
He's got
No, I just
I mean, negative way.
It was just
from what?
Yeah.
He goes from what? He built his own guitar, and you know how people like follow, like, you know, come back next week for the update, and that's how he got a following. He built his own Gibson.
Good on him.
I don't have the TikTok, so I'll have to go check it out.
I recently downloaded it. It's pretty funny.
It's humorous. I had my first experience with Omegle last night.
Oh, Bailey, let's.
Okay, hold on. I was with. I didn't search it myself. I was with a group of friends, and they put a filter on it so that like no bad content would pop up. But we learned very quickly within about 2 minutes that those filters mean nothing to Omegle. So we turned it off. But there was, yeah. I think I need. Yeah, it was interesting.
Stay off the internet, Bailey.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna. I don't know why I brought that up. I kind of just dug that.
The internet's a bad place.
Yeah, it really
people.
is.
Stay away.
Can we re-record the podcast? I think we should just.
we're.
Yeah, let's start. Next.
Yeah. This was take one. Oh gosh, no. But guys, we're at an hour. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Like, I love talking to you guys. I loved hearing your stories. Like, I know a lot of people that listen, talk to me, or send me messages saying that they love hearing stories like this. And I think that you both are like super, super, super like talented guys. And I like sincerely mean that. Like, working with you guys was, I really hope I get to work with like you guys for the rest of my life. So I really appreciate you guys doing this podcast with me.
Bailey, man, thanks.
Well, I appreciate you having us on.
No problem, man. Bailey, do you want to like shout out your Instagram or anything like that?
Yeah, man. Well, I'll just simply say, last final comments. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think there could have been a better group of guys to work, and maybe because it was my first gig, but man, there couldn't have been a better group of guys to be with. And sure. I know it's weird because I feel like we're gonna stay in touch for a while, man, and we'll have a reunion or something. So I'm thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, for those listening, man, soon. Follow me on Instagram at Rayleigh Boberts. My name's Bailey Roberts, so just switch the first letter on my names. And look out for my new music, man. It would mean so much to have support on it, and I take constructive criticism. So if it's garbage, please let me know, and I will work on it.
We will let you know, Bailey, right away.
Oh, I know you will.
the gloves will
man, that's for me, man. I thanks so much, Sampley, for having me on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks you, Bailey. And Slade, what about you? You got like an Instagram or something you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I'm gonna add just kind of like the gratitude I have for all the guys on the in the cast, and also in the crew and everybody a part of 12 Mighty Orphans, because it was such a wonderful experience. I'm so thankful to have gotten to know you guys and the rest of the cast and whatnot. And I'm also grateful for having for being on your podcast, Sampley.
Thanks,
so I
man.
appreciate that. But yes, my Instagram is Slade_Monroe, SLADE_MONROE. I'm active every once in a while, but still active.
I love how like whenever we all post, like there's a good chance that all of us will comment on it. I just always love that. And to kind of say what Bailey said, I mean, we may not talk to each other every day, but it would be insane if none of us ever spoke again. And I think we'll just always talk. But thanks again, guys. So go follow Bailey, Rayleigh Boberts, and then Slade_Monroe, right? Is that all correct?
Yes, sir.
That's right. Yep.
Awesome, guys. All right. I really appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon. And thanks for being on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. Send
awesome.
me your wedding invitation, and I'll see you, man. I want to come.
Absolutely, man. All right.
Yes. Yeah, I'll for sure be
all right. God bless, guys. Go Cowboys.
Bye.